So let me start with this quote. Caring for the environment is not a luxury of the rich, but a necessity of the poor. So after listening to the previous talks, I doubt whether my talk is going to be a real fit to the session. The reason could be I have certain apprehensions about even the phrase citizen science. The space between the citizen and science is deliberate. What is science? I think science is a universal language, a universal knowledge base, commonly owned by the human beings. And while calling the people citizen, we are boxing them to the nation boundaries. And what is knowledge? Knowledge is the information, skill, or even the facts, any facts, which is acquired through experiences or the theoretical understandings of the processes. Science is just a process to explore, experiment, and present this knowledge using a particular episteme. That way, every human being is possessing a huge knowledge treasure. Every indigenous community owns a huge knowledge database. What we scientists do is just document and present that knowledge using a particular method, using some jargons. So whether it is a traditional knowledge or the knowledge created by the people like us who is having a prefix to our name as Dr, the knowledge is knowledge. I don't want to differentiate between citizen science or science. The phrase citizen science is very recent. I think around early 2000s, a Smithsonian entomologist, Dr. East Bassett, trained the local people to sort the insects to morphospecies. And later, such untrained scientists were, somebody coined the term to address such untrained scientists as citizen scientists. And lately, there were some definitions to citizen science. All this, I would say, is based on the prejudice of or the arrogance of the scientists that we are the owners of the knowledge or we monopolize the science. So the phrase citizen science itself creates a dichotomy. It separates scientists and keeps the scientists in a very hierarchical position. We think we are above all these communities, all these individuals who possess the knowledge, and the knowledge becomes science only if it is explained through the epistemology of the science what we believe. So I just give two well accepted definitions of citizen science. One is citizen science is sometimes described as a public participation in scientific research. Or as Oxford defines, scientific work undertaken by members of the general public, often in collaboration with scientists. Whatever it is, why should the citizens participate to the scientific program of the conventional scientists? Where the scientists write something or assimilate this knowledge and present in a language which is not easily understandable to the common man. That is a major gap of the most of the science. Even today, 90 or 99% of the scientists are shy of public. They fail to communicate what they do in a language to the common man, in a language which is easily understandable to the common man. So what should be the purpose of citizen science, what we call? Is it just to assimilate knowledge for our research work? Are they the fodder collectors for our research? Or is it something more? And who actually, through whom the, for natural history sciences, if we go through, most of the natural history was revealed through the works of amateur scientists. Whether it is Hortus Melibaricus, which is the assimilation of traditional knowledge collected by Itti Achyutan and his family, who is standing behind, and validated by Appu Bhatt, Rangabhatt, and Vinayak Bhatt, and published by Van Reet. They were not trained scientists. Most of the fauna of British India volumes were compiled by, not by scientists, solved by people who were interested. So what should be the scientific, what should be a scientific citizen science? So I believe that it can be, first of all, the dichotomy should go. And the science should be a democratic and inclusive approach to finding solution to grand challenges faced by humanity. So these grand challenges, including most of the things listed out in the SDG 2030, like health and human well-being, climate change, food security, all those things. Only through the conventional science, I don't think we can find solutions to all these issues. It needs a bigger collaboration, a collaboration between general public, policy makers, and scientists. With this background, I'll just present the Vembanad fish count we are conducting for last 15 years in Alleppey, Kerala. So it's a science for the common. It's a democratic initiative. It's truly participatory. And the major outcome is some conservation action and enhancing the livelihood security and even some policy change. It brings together various stakeholders. Especially, it brings together the local fishers to the academia and the policy makers. A lot of volunteers participate. The Cochin University of Fisheries, when Aquatic Biology Department, the Fisheries, State Fisheries Department, etc., participates to the Vembanad fish count. It's a collaboration between scientists, government, and it helps in improving the decision making, and it enhances the local governance structuring by combining the creative skills and diverse resources, and it helps to contribute towards building a social capital and helps communities to increase understanding about the environment. In 2006, a Bangalore-based NGO, ATREE, when we went to Alleppey, even we were just thinking, Why should the people cooperate with us? We went there to develop a research project. ATREE is primarily a research organization. When we talk to the people, we realize that rather than the research, it is some action what is required to conserve the Vembanad backwaters and fisheries. It was a turning point in our intervention. But again, getting the trust of the people and bringing the local people with the academia, bring the local panchayats to the academia and NGOs. We started the Vembanad fish count in year 2007. So we identified 3 cruises. And through the initial years, we developed a standard sampling protocol using various methods. And the data generated, though initial objective was not to generate big data rather than just an informal monitoring of the resources to make people aware of the situation of the resources and to promote a sustainable harvesting practices. Because of the systematic methods adopted, it happened to be one of the good list of inventory of the fishes of Vembanad backwaters. So far, we have identified more than 92 species from the southern side of Vembanad. In last 2 years, we have extended the fish count to the northern part of Tanjavulkam also. But other than this, why should fishers participate to fish count? We engage them in a dialogue. The fishers were more concerned about the declining the fishery resource of the Vembanad lake, and they identified that loss of mangroves around the lake shore is the reason for fishery depletion. Being the scientists, we suggested, why don't we restore mangroves? But by the time situations have changed, tourism boom has happened, the coastline have been alienated to the fishes. Earlier it was a common access property. The fish landing centers were less. There's no more space left for restoring the mangroves. So fishers came with the suggestion to create a small breeding habit for the fishes. For that, they suggested using a conventional fishery method, the puddle fishing, which was attracting a lot of brooders. Why don't we use that for creating artificial breeding sites for the fishes? We were a little doubtful. Today you may put the puddle and tomorrow is your plan to fish from there. The fishers came up with the design of a small fish sanctuary, a 20-meter core with a puddle or the foliages of the mangroves and mango, and a 60-meter fencing with a bamboo fencing with the branches without cutting the branches of the bamboo. So it was not possible for anyone to cast in it or enter into the sanctuary. We supported one such sanctuary and we organized the first lake protection forum in Mohama. Lake protection forum are the small grassroots institutions of the fishers. Now there are about 15 lake protection forum LP of around the lake, and these lake protection fora are registered under the Travancore Kochi Literacy and Charitable Societies Act. And all lake protection fora are federated under the Federation of Lake Protection Fora or Samyukta Kayal Sanrakshana Samiti. Each lake protection fora is a member of the federation, and federation coordinates the activities of lake protection fora. So the federation and LPF help to sustain the livelihood of the stakeholders of the lake, and they protect to conserve the ecology of the lake. They try to sustainably manage the lake's natural resources. They work with the government departments, panchayats, and local agencies to increase the ecological health and the fishery resource of them. These are the various lake protection fora registered around the lake. With the help of LPF, ATREE, or even without the help or voluntarily, LPFs come up with several activities today. So they conserve and sustain the lake resources. They promote the use of indigenous and traditional methods. So now there are about 10 or 15 fish sanctuaries in the lake. Later, Kerala government also has adopted this method. Now government also is setting up small fish sanctuaries in the lake. We train the LPF members to measure the water quality, and they set up water quality boards in their villages and regularly monitoring water quality and writing in water quality board. But what surprised us is how smart our people are to make use of the data. Tanyanmukam Bund is always a reason for the stakeholder conflict, a conflict between the fishers and the farmers in Vembanad. Since farmers being a more powerful stakeholders, fishers were never consulted about the operation of the lake. In 2011, after the water quality monitoring started when the bund was closed, Lake Protection Forum came up with a press release and a memorandum to the collector stating that it is too early to close the bund. The PPT at the Tanyanmukam is only 2 PPT. They waited for another 40 or 45 days. They came up with another memorandum and press release. This is the BOD, this is the COD, and the water is getting polluted. The lake is getting polluted. If the bund is not open soon, it is going to impact the biodiversity of the lake. Anyway, that made some changes. Later, the number of days of keeping the bund open is reduced. And they were trying to follow a strict calendar, better calendar. The fishers, they celebrate the World Wetland Day in different ways. They took an initiative to form a joint forum of fishers and farmers to reduce the conflicts. For last 10 years, the fishers observe about the Mandala period. November, December, when the people go to Shabarimala, which is, people consider it as a period for purity. Our fishers decided to observe this Mandala period as a plastic cleaning period. Whenever they go to the lake for fishing or clam collection, they collect all the plastic dumped to the lake by tourists and others. Since then, every year, 70 to 120 bags of plastic is collected from the lake bed. And most of those plastic is used for construction of the lake or other activities. They do a lot of activities for promoting ethical fishing. And on the left side, you see a book written by one of the community members, Mr. K.M. Poor, is about the ethical, is a book on ethical fishing. This led us to initiate to prepare a people's map of Vembanad. We mapped out the resources of Vembanad Lake with the community. So it identified the various natural resources and identified the past and current trends in the lake. So where people usually go for fishing, where they go for clam collection, where the clam resources were existed more earlier, where it is declined in the recent days. So we realized clam is one of the important resources. But on the southern side of the lake, on many parts, the clam resources have declined largely mainly because of the Tanimukam barrage, which prevents the salinity incursion in the southern part. So we consulted the experts from CMFRI and WWF. We brought together the fisheries department also. And WWF and CMFRI suggested relaying clams on the northern side of the Tanimukam barrage. The situations are so good that there is an overproduction of the clam and people were harvesting baby clams. So we decided to purchase the baby clams from the people who harvest the baby clams and relay it on the southern side and help the fisheries department to develop a proposal and submit to the state government. And that project was sanctioned. So it's a collaborative effort of NGOs, research institutions, cooperative societies, and the community organizations for the clam sustainability. And after the 2018 Kerala floods, the fishers were telling they got a good catch of the clam, which helped them to sustain the lean periods after the flood. And they thanked that to the clam relay. Now, Kerala state government is doing the clam relaying in a larger scale. And as a conclusion, conservation is not just protectionism. It's not, we cannot conserve excluding the people. And conservation in the heavily used landscape can be possible only by capacitating the local community. Participatory research will help of scientific community and the local community resolve the problems. More discussion and campaigns needs to be carried among local people. So, as concluding remarks, this is what I have to tell. Citizen science is not incorporating people, not asking them to collect data for us, or helping us to lead a comfortable life when they go to the field and collect data for us. Instead, in the due course, somehow scientists got alienated from the community. We think only our knowledge is valid. We don't bother to engage the community. We don't bother to engage the policymakers. From citizen science, what I envisage is that making science democratic, inclusive. So each scientist should make it a point to go to the society, to go to the policymakers, to make the science more democratic, more inclusive, and more human friendly and more useful to the human beings. Thank you.